Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to answer who will do it, Mr. Speaker, sir, one has to understand what industrial hemp is all about. Mr. Speaker, sir, industrial hemp is different to what we call medicinal hemp. Industrial hemp, Mr. Speaker, sir, is in fact at the moment hailed as the wonder plant due to its estimated 25,000 different uses. This include food, fiber, ropes, textiles, paper, building material, and other byproducts, even for clothing too, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, textiles. Currently, more than 30 countries in Europe, Asia, North and South America permit farmers to grow industrial hemp. It's an agricultural commodity which is sold in the world market. The European countries produce about 80,000 acres. That is about 40% of the total world production that are centered in France, Netherlands, Lithuania and Romania. China is another major producer of hemp on about 20,000 hectares of land. Apart from China, Japan, Iran, North and South Korea, Pakistan, Syria and Turkey are also major hemp producing countries. A report on cultivation of hemp in 2016 by the United Nations states that worldwide industrial hemp are grown in the total land area of about 225,000 acres with a total value of US $437 million. Canada is a major industrial hemp producing country with a total of 130,000 hectares in 2017. The country exported 5,400 metric tons of hemp seed with a total value of $50 million. Some of these countries, of course, Mr. Speaker, sir, produce what we call cannabidiol processed hemp oil, which is slightly different to what we want to do. These are used for medicinal purposes and, of course, have what we call high levels of THC. THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, is what measures that gives you the high. So the lower the content, the more of an industrial hemp it is. And therefore, that's the space that we want to get into. Some countries, of course, are producing hemp, which is for medicinal purposes, which actually has high levels of THC. Our focus, of course, is on the industrial hemp with low levels of THC. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to be able to look at the full benefits of it, and interestingly enough, actually, there was an ADB report in 2004, Honorable Alambalab, I don't know whether you're in government then or not, but there's a report by ADB in 2004 that talked about how industrial hemp could be an alternative form of agricultural produce from Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to actually assess that, and we've been talking to UN, in fact, I was just talking yesterday and today too on some matters with the UN, the head of UN here in the Pacific, and he had mentioned to me also about how they have, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes actually does help countries, for example, to develop laws around it. The FAO also has some guidelines around industrial hemp or related to that. In order to be able to look at, where is the best place to plant industrial hemp, when we should plant it, we need to look at, for example, the markets, who will buy it, where we can sell it. You have to look at the climate and soil requirement. So we have to liaise with the Ministry of Agriculture. We have to look at whether it's going to, not interfere with other agricultural produce at the moment. And of course, we wanted to replace the illicit agriculture sector. But we have to look at, for example, also the laws, Mr. Speaker, because currently our legislative framework, which is the Illicit Drugs Control Act, has a very wide coverage of cannabis, what we call cannabis. So you'll get caught. If you want to even have, for example, if you want to even grow hemp that's got very low levels of THC, it'll still be illegal. So, in fact, last night I was also looking at the regulations in Canada, and unfortunately I left it in the office, I didn't bring it here with me. But Canada, for example, has very good legislation in respect of this and specific regulations around it. So, to answer the member's question, you have to have a wider understanding of how this hemp can be grown. Simply don't pluck it out of the air. You have to ensure that you also comply with international standards. We don't, for example, want banks in the USA saying, "Oh, Fiji is now growing, hemp, so therefore let's cut off their credit rating for the banks because they engage in illicit areas of agriculture." So we have to be very mindful of that. We'll be working with UNODC regarding this. We'll be working with the Ministry of Agriculture and various other international agencies, including local agencies, and also, of course, talking to the private sector to see their appetite in respect of manufacturing. And one of the things that we do want, that if we do get into this space, we would like the manufacturing to actually take place in Fiji. Not necessarily just grow it and bundle it off and then send it off as a raw material. If we are going to make ropes from Fijian hemp, we should be made here. If we're going to make textiles, should be made here. So we have to look at, for example, the private sector appetite, the ability to invest. We need to look at the amount of volume we can actually produce to be able to have, make viable commercial sense from it. So it's a whole range of people that will need to be consulted. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable. Honourable.